Okay, here's a quick lesson on how I clean my pistols. This one in particular, this is a CZ P10C or compact. And the first thing I want to do is clear it. It's got a magazine in it. And so what I want to do is drop the magazine. To do that, you have a magazine release button right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thumb, press on it, and the magazine drops out. Set it over to the side. There's one in the chamber. Whether there is or not, I always check it. And as I pull the slide back, it ejects the live round. I look in it to make sure there's nothing else, and lock it to the rear. I've got a slide lock here that I push up on, and so now I can inspect it. Totally clear. So I'll set the ammunition over to the side. I don't want it anywhere near me. And to break this down, it's just like a Glock. You have two small tabs, one on each side of the frame right there, and they need to be pushed. But in order to push it, do is, again, I'll check it, make sure it's clear, then I'll pull the trigger. Now I'm going to pull the slide back just slightly, just like this, and now I'm going to pull the tabs down like that, and then the slide comes right off. So now I've got the frame and the slide, and inside I've got the recoil spring and the barrel itself. So I'm going to take the recoil spring out, I'm going to apply a little pressure, pull it out like that, set it over to the side, and then the barrel comes out. So there's the barrel. So now I've got it completely disassembled. Recoil spring, barrel, slide, and the frame. So what I'll do is I'll take solvent and put it on the end of a brush like this. This is a bore brush. This is for the barrel itself. I like Hoppe's. Really good solvent here. Some people use a combination of solvent and lubricant all in one. I don't care for those. I like pure solvent. Take care of all the carbon. And then after I get it good and clean, then I'll go to the lubricant or the oil. Okay, so I'll set that over to the side. Now I'm going to take a brush, nylon brush, no metal bristles, and I'm going to clean the end of the barrel where the ramp is. That's where the ammunition slides up in there when it's being fed into the chamber. So like that, and I'll actually get the crown or the end of the barrel, get it nice and clean. I'll go to the slide. I'm going to clean the inside of the slide like this, and the rails where it connects to the frame. Slides back and forth, and you get the breech head right there, or bolt face it is, and I want to make sure that's nice and clean. Solvent works really good. Now I'll just set it over the side. I'm going to give it a chance to work, dissolve some of that carbon, and then the frame, just the metal pieces here on the inside, because the frame itself is mostly polymer, though it has some metal pieces on the inside. So again, that's solid. It's going to help loosen all that up. So I'm going to lay the frame over to the side. Now I'm going to put this attachment on so I can put a patch on, or two patches in this case for the 9mm. It calls for two patches usually. Makes it a little difficult to push through the barrel, but it makes it nice and snug so it gets the loose carbon on. So I'm going to put it through just like this. Take it and put it in this end of the barrel, not the crown, but the end where the ramp is. Don't want to damage the crown and affect the accuracy of the pistol. So push it through, pull it back out a few times, and you can see the dirt, the carbon there. I'm going to take a rag. I like to use these microfibers. Wipe down the outside of the barrel nice and clean, especially where the ramp is. Right there, you see the ramp. At the bottom, that's where the ammo slides up into the chamber. So I want to make sure that's nice and smooth. Check it, make sure there's no gouges, any deficiencies that might impede it from chambering properly. Okay, so that takes care of the barrel. For the recoil spring, I usually don't do a whole lot to it. I don't put solvent on it or oil. So So I just kind of wipe it down with the rag, unless there's something obvious I need to try to get rid of, and just try to get some of the carbon off. But if I put oil on that, it tends to take lint and everything and cling to it. So I just don't want to take a chance. All right, I'm going to use the same rag to do the initial cleaning inside of the slide, just like this. Get as much of the solvent off as I can, all across the bolt face here, inside the rails. And that takes care of most of it. Now, grab a Q-tip, go into small, tiny areas, like this. Inspect all the parts and pieces, make sure they are in good working order. Looks pretty good, actually. Okay, a little solvent right here, so I want to make sure I get all that off. Don't want any solvent left on there to mix with the oil. It turns into a lapping compound. Just don't like that. I like it nice, squeaky clean, dry. Okay, so that takes care of the slide. Now we'll move over to the frame. Same thing, I'll wipe it down as good as I can, and there's a lot of carbon on this end of it. All the middle pieces, get the solvent off along with the carbon. I like to clean the inside of the mag wheel here, where the magazine goes. Make sure it looks okay, and it does. Just try to wipe all this solvent off. It's hard to get into small places with this. You can see there's some small places in there. That's where the Q-tips come in handy once again, like right here. And I can go right down in there. I can reach it with a rag, but you can tell it's got quite a bit of carbon. Some people don't go to this extent. I do. I'm very meticulous about guns, especially if it's a carry gun. If it's a range gun, I go to the range regularly with it. Say the next day or 2 days later, I may not give it a cleaning, or if I do, it'll just be a very quick cursory cleaning and not get into a lot of detailed cleaning, because I'll just get it dirty all over again. But for concealed carry, especially self-defense, home defense, I don't want to take any chances. If it has a failure, it will not be because I have a dirty gun. And part of this was instilled in me in the military. We went to great pains to make sure every single detail was taken care of when we cleaned our weapons. Okay, it's looking pretty good. And there we have it. So that pretty much takes care of the cleaning with the solvent. So now we have to go back before we assemble it. We'll put a little bit of oil on it. I like to use one good brand here as well as some Combat. Got some really good lubrication here. First thing I'm going to do is take the barrel, and just put a little bit on it and wipe it down. Just a nice thin coat all over it. Lay that to the side. Now I'm going to take the slide. You see this has got grooves here on the side, right down the, if I can get something to point with, right here, right along here on the edge. On the inside, that's what rides on the frame, and the metal pieces on the top there, they just mate together and slide back and forth. So what I want to do is put just a little bit of oil in a couple places along the inside of the rail where it fits, and then some right here and some right here. Then I like to spread, like for this part, I like to spread it so that it gets just a thin coat. I don't want it too heavy. Some guns require more lubrication than others. 1911s are notorious for wanting to be lubricated heavily, but striker fired, typically not so much. Okay, on the frame itself, you're going to see the metal pieces here will have, in some cases, maybe little shiny places where the black is worn off. that shows that's where a lot of the wear is, where it's rubbing. So I want to make sure those areas are lubricated very well. But again, I don't want to do this in a way that just saturates it with oil. This is one case where more is not necessarily better. It needs to be a nice, even, thin coat of oil. I usually spread it around with my fingers like this. Okay, so that takes care of the lubrication. So we should be all set to put it back together. So now we'll get the slide. I want to take the barrel. I've got the ramp end up like this. So it slides in there. Now I've got the recoil spring. Fits in going this way first. Then I have to compress it so that it fits and slides right in to place here against the barrel right here. Okay, now I'm going to take and line these up. So I'm going to put it back together like this. Just take it nice and easy, pull it all the way back. Now with this particular gun, when I take it back and run it forward, it's back together. I don't have to do anything with the tabs. It automatically locks in place. So now what I'm going to do is a function check. Again, I'll make sure the gun is clear, there's no ammunition. I'm going to rack it, and then I'm going to pull the trigger. You'll see me pull the trigger like this. I hear it click. That's the striker going forward. This is the one firing the pistol. Now what I want to do is I'm going to rack the slide again. While I still have the trigger pulled, I'm going to rack the slide again, and then I'm going to release it until I hear a click. Right there. That's the reset. From that point, I can pull it again and fire it. And that's another thing I check. So I just went through a complete function check with it. The other thing I do is I clean the glass on my RMR, or in this case a Holliston red dot, enclosed. So I'll clean that, make sure it's free of anything. I try not to get any solvent on it while I'm cleaning it too. It could damage it some. And that is how you clean and do a function check on a typical striker-fired pistol such as the CZ-P10C. It's one of my favorites. Did an excellent job at the range for me today, and it's really, for me, it's a perfect concealed carry, especially with a red dot. Anyway, if you have any questions, give me a call.